Hi guys, welcome to Java. In this little tutorial we're going to actually show you how to do a simple program, run through a few little things about Java, explaining what they do, how Java works and what it does in memory. So we'll start off with just a simple hello world message, and we'll actually type this up in Sublime Text first before we actually do anything in Java Visualizer. So a standard layout for Java is we start off with a public class, if I can spell public class correctly, and we'll call this test for now, just for simplicity. Inside this we'll actually have the actual main, so we'll need to go public static, static void main, and we'll actually pass in, it takes in a string argument, a string array argument actually, string args, and that is Java in a nutshell for simplicity's sake. So what we'll do is actually save it. We'll save it to my desktop. We'll call it test.java. Oops. Save. So therefore we can actually have syntax highlighting. Just makes it a little bit easier for us to actually look at the code and see where we're going, and so I can compile it. So now what we'll do is we'll do a simple hello world message. So what we want to do is we want to use the system.out.println class. .out.println, and then we'll type in hello world. Hello walk. Okay, so now I'm going to compile that. Yay, no errors. I'm a pro Java programmer. Lol jokes. So what we can do now is to run it. Well, we could actually do it two ways when we compile Java. We could use Sublime Text, but in your case, being that you'll be a uni student and you'll be asked to use Vim, it'll be better off using the command line prompt. So to do that, you just go javac test.java and we'll compile with no errors. To run it, you go java test, and that's it. Bang, hello world. That's Java in a nutshell. So what happens if we want to start using variables, manipulating information, let's say some numbers? Okay, so we can start defining integers into little variables. We'll call the first one called number 1. Oh, and we'll initialize it with the value 20, and we'll have another one called number 2, and we'll initialize it with 30. So what we can do with those numbers is we can do any basic mathematical things. We can do add, subtraction, multiplication, and division to them. So, and there's also other things in Java that we can later on down the track find out what they do as we progress with our skill levels. So what we'll do is we'll just do a simple addition. So we'll create a new variable and we'll call it result. And we want that to be the value of number 1 plus number 2. So we go number 1 plus number 2. Oops. Number 2. So what this will do, in the memory of Java when it runs, number 1 will be then added with number 2, and that result will then go into the value or the variable called result. But what happens if we want to see the result? Now, going back to our simple hello world message, we can then add that to, we can append the result to a string and print out the variable. So similarly, we'll use system.out.println again. Nope. And then we give it a, we'll go, result is, give it a space, oh, put a colon there, and we'll concatenate it with the result. So what this will do is take the result here and append it to the string with this string here. And we can actually compile that. Hooray, no errors. And once again, you can use javac to compile, and then just run Java test again, and there is a result. We got hello world, which is the first line there, and you got Java result is, or sorry, the result of those two variables is 50. Now, let's just say we want to have a look what actually happens in the actual memory. We won't go too deep, but we'll actually look at probably more of a superficial level of how it runs in memory. So we'll type that exact same code out in Java Visualizer. So if you remember, we'll call this for keeping things consistent. We'll call this one test. It doesn't really matter in Java Visualizer. It doesn't really care what you call the class, as long as it's got a capital letter at the start, it's happy. So then we'll actually start defining initializing some integer variables. So we go number 1. Unfortunately, there's no what's it called? Autocomplete. So, and we'll go number 2, 30. And then we'll print that out. Out.print line, and we'll go result is, bad typer. Oh, and did you notice what we forgot? We forgot to put the arithmetic in. But what we can do is be a little bit cheeky here. Well, not so much cheeky. Let's be a bit clever. So what we can do is, this will be either treated as a string if it was just 2 words, like so. And what that will do is we'll concatenate those 2 strings to be one string when it prints to screen. But what we can do is be a bit clever, and we'll just put in parentheses just to make sure it actually do the arithmetic and then append it to a string. So we'll go number 1 plus number 2. That will save us a line of code to actually, and also a little bit of memory to initialize a variable. But in this case, we don't want to do that because we actually want to see what happens in memory. So, in contradiction to what I said, so we want to create another variable called result. If I can spell it. Result equals number 1 plus number 2. So we then now can actually visualize what actually happens in memory and while we run the program. So we'll hit visualize, and you'll be presented with this screen. So what we can do here is it will say, as it says here, so anything in gray is a line that just executed, and anything in yellow is a line to execute. So at the moment it's starting. So as soon as you start your program, Java will look for anything that's got to do with main. So here, it will then start executing the code within that body. So the first thing on the first cab of the ranks is a system.out.println, and any output to the program will be here, and any sort of anything that's happening inside of memory will be in this side of the actual screen here. So what we can do is just kind of start iterating through. We can press forward, and that will start going through the code and executing it. So at the moment, we're on to step 2. System.out.println has just been executed. So the next one will actually have a printed out message in the program output just below. So we go forward, bang, hello world. Okay, so see how it's gone grey and see how it's gone yellow? It just shows you where it's been and how the program is running. This is good for loops and knowing where you're stepping through, and also if and else problems that you come to terms with. Now, so the next thing is executing is the int number 1, which has a value of 20. So what do you think is going to happen? If we're initializing a variable called number 1 and it's an integer, it's then got to allocate memory in the computer to store that value. So what we'll do is we'll press next, and bang, number 1 equals 20. Again, we'll do it for number 2, and there is 30. Unfortunately, we don't see the nuts and bolts and how the actual addition happens, but we can actually see superficially how it all happens. So it will then initialize an integer result at the same time adding the two numbers together. And there we have it, result 50. So now we can actually proceed on with the code again. And last but not least is the last system.out.println. And there it is there. Result is 50. So that concludes our tutorial with Java and how to run it and how to use Java Visualizer, and using these little tools will actually help you to come to terms on how to program, even for the novice programmer. Believe me, it helps me. Thank you for watching.